In a world where 54% of Americans read below a 6th grade level.
Could you read this?
It's impossible. I just see his words everywhere.
One man wrote a book about the hidden truth behind clowns.
I finally finished it. Everything's going to be okay now.
Links down below to the Amazon.
But he was about to find out.
Your primary market is the USA, and it ranks 36th in global literacy rates, with over 43 million adults unable to read or write.
Getting the truth to people is no day at the circus.
You know, sometimes I wonder if I'm the real clown.
Nobody reads anymore.
Have you considered recording an audiobook?
You're going to get a sore throat.
You're serious about this, aren't you?
You don't understand. I have to do this. The people have to know.
That book will ruin everything.
I will not use AI to record this.
We can't let him reach them.
This is just something I need to do. I don't even like clowns. The end.
Now they can hide that they're completely illiterate. This is amazing.
This season, playing on rectangular devices with black screens near you. The Nephilim looked like clowns. The audiobook.
Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Come on and sit on down. Episode 99 of the Truther Therapy Sessions. Look, it's one more away from 100. We're getting there. And I was thinking, what am I going to do for these next two shows? I should probably do something special, something different. I haven't bothered to really reach out to anybody as kind of like a special star guest, if you get what I mean. But I was thinking to myself, like, back to my roots, where I came from and what this show's really all about. And I thought, why don't I just open up the call again and just ask if anyone who listens regularly wants to come on and share their stories. This is a Truther Therapy session after all, and this is for everyone, not just for big content creators. Although they're obviously welcome to hop on whenever they want to hop on. And I put out the call yesterday, and I got a few emails coming in from lots of different people, and I've selected just a handful, just 3 people today, who I think may make a good show. We can have a good discussion and share a bit of information, and obviously hear some stories of how people have come to the truth and their journey and some of the weird things they may have discovered along the way. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. But just before we begin this, obviously the usual opening things that I just have to say and do. I have a new batch of books turning up in about a week for signed copies. I've got the email, it's all coming through, they're in the print and everything. And 2 people have already booked theirs from the bunch. I have 7 hard copies and 3 paperbacks coming. If you would want to get yourself a signed copy of The Nephilim Looks Like Clowns, you can pre-order from this batch, and when it turns up in a week, I'll send them off as soon as they arrive. Straight from the house, I'll sign them here, package them here, and send them off from my local post office. So if you're interested, please email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com. And for a limited time, while it's still available to me, if you do buy a signed copy from me personally and you live in the UK or the US, because that's the only way I can make this work, I will give you a free code for a Audible copy of the book as well. So a free audiobook with a signed copy. So email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com to get yours from this 10-book batch, and we can get that sorted. Or if you just want to buy an audiobook, you can also go to Audible and get one of those as well. Or if you don't care about a signed copy, just go to Amazon and get yourself a copy as well. That's a good way to support me, guys. And also don't forget about Patreon. I've been putting some extra stuff on there recently. Every Tuesday's video goes on there about 4 to 5 days earlier on a Friday or a Saturday. So you get some early access stuff there as well. And I have lots more things coming to be going on there very soon. Straight after this show, for example, I'll be talking to somebody who's in the acting industry and is talking out about their experiences for my Understanding Creativity channel. The raw audio for that whole discussion will be available to patrons about 2 weeks before I actually post it to the public as well. So go check that out if you haven't already. Those are the best ways to support me, and anything I can get from you guys is, of course, appreciated. So there we go. That's the obligatory opening sales pitches done. Let's move on to the actual show. And my first guest is somebody who's kind of been in the chat for a long time. A man who seems to hold me in relatively high regards, which is very pleasant to see, and I've enjoyed some of his comments here and there. And he reached out to me and says he has a lot of information that might be useful for me for my second book, going down into the clown research. And what he's presented to me so far, I think is going to make for a fantastic discussion. So, Thomas, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I am. Hi.
Fantastic. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. On such short notice as well. Honestly, I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's a little bit strange for me to be on your channel, but it's awesome. I hope I can make it worthwhile.
No, I'm sure you can. Like I said, because you obviously live in it's Switzerland, is that right?
Yeah,
it's Switzerland, and this is in the heart of Europe, shall we say? A very mysterious country from an outsider's perspective. From what I understand, a very rich country as well, very highly wealthy, very quite elitist in many regards to the rest of Europe, and very much isolationist. Keeps to itself, doesn't like to get involved with external politics or allow those to affect its own decision making or get involved as well. A bit of a rich banking country. Am I getting this right, or am I stereotyping here? Is that a?
I would say your stereotype is bang on, and okay. I will actually talk about this, how this ties into all of it later in the video. It's not that isolated as you may think.
Oh, intriguing. I like that. Cryptic. I like it.
Yeah, it is cryptic. I hope it will make sense in a while.
No, I like it. I like it a lot. So you sent me some information in regards to the carnival that goes on there, which is just rife with clown imagery, like extreme clown imagery as well. And I've loosely, probably offensively touched on this in one of my earlier Nephilim Like Clowns episodes, ignorantly talking about things I have no business talking about as usual, as I've been told many times. And I probably didn't do it justice. So when you told me you live there, you experienced this, you grew up with this yearly ritual that takes place in your country, I thought this is perfect. Like I'd love to get first-hand accounts of what exactly goes on there. So Thomas, without further ado, what do you have for us today? What would you like to share? The microphone's yours.
Awesome. So I would like to share two things. First of all, I would like to give your viewers an overview over what this Swiss carnival, or as we call it, Fastnacht, really is. Because it is probably, I would dare say, the most intense carnival in the world, on a level that I would say surpasses even the South American. And I hope my accent isn't too bad. I really hope it's okay. And the word Fastnacht, maybe you have, or as we say, Fastnacht is basically, it says, translated the night before the fast. You probably know that. And when I was in school, I was pretty much the only one who would not participate. It was harsh, because people here, if you think people are enthusiastic about soccer, about football in the US, that's tame in comparison to Fastnacht or Carnival. And pretty much every village and every town has their own Fastnacht guild. It's like a secret society in a sense, because every guild has their master of the guild. It's called Zunftmeister, and he has a top hat. And I mean, every one of these guilds has their master, and this master will plan each year's theme. And you have to maybe you are familiar with like hooligans. I think that's a big thing in soccer in the UK. These groups, each year in November, they will gather in a public square, and the mayor of the town, of the village, will hand a physical key to these guys, and it's called the handing of the key to the fools. And the town, in a ceremonial rite, is given to these jesters, and they call it that. And then they will go on. They get this key. Maybe if you go to your email account where I sent you that picture with that guy with the devil's horns.
Sure thing. Yeah, I can do that. So let me just quickly switch across here. That's one of the pictures you sent me, and I think it was just down here.
That one. Right.
There we go. This guy.
So it's a physical key, and each town has one of these. And maybe one of your viewers will recognize this key. It's on the Vatican flag as well. It's the same key that is on the flag of the UBS Bank, which is a huge bank. So this key is a very popular symbol here in Switzerland. And as soon as they have that key, I dare to say the police and law enforcement turns quite of a blind eye. And as soon as they have the key, they will prepare their foolish spiel. And in January or February, sometimes a little bit later, it depends on the town, they will have a huge parade. And basically during these parades, the city is in lockdown. You probably have seen this during your research, like there's huge parades with people swinging torches. If you Google Basel Nacht, you will probably see people in huge crowds. We're talking like 200,000 people in Basel alone on the street each year. Yeah, there you can see it. That's a perfect example. And you can't go anywhere. Like the whole city, every city is closed down. And I remember when I went to school and I got into the class the first time, because I had no idea about this. My parents came from another country into this country, and I had no idea about this. Everyone was dressed up as a clown, as an Nephilim, and like really extreme. And I had no idea what this is. And I asked people, and that's how I learned about it. I was like 7 years old. And from a very young age, I would dare say children are groomed to participate in this. And these guild members, they sometimes are in these, I would call it Masonic rituals in a light sense. Like if you are not in one of these groups, one of these Zünfte, as we say, you may have trouble getting into certain offices, or you may have trouble in your local economy to get to a higher position. For example, I remember you worked at Aldi, right?
Yeah.
So if you would work here at Aldi, we also have Aldi, and everyone is in this local, iteration of this guild, but you aren't. You would never get most likely a higher position. That's how it works.
Wow.
Yeah, it goes really deep, and I struggle a bit to convey to you how deep it actually goes. So every year, like I said, in November, they get this key, and then they prepare their secret costume for January and February. And this is done in such a secrecy. There have been break-ins and burglaries between rivaling carnival guilds to find out what the other guy is doing and what kind of costume they will parade this year. It's insane. And yeah, and I have seen, and that's where it gets interesting, I think, in school or during my work life, I've seen people change their personality completely during these few days or weeks. For example, I would come into a school and people I was friends with would be openly hostile towards me. And that was very weird. And we would have class and people would spontaneously erupt into laughter. And like, I'm not a huge movie guy, but you've probably seen Joker. And he has this very distinct, creepy laugh. And that's something I would hear very often from people that would be otherwise very serious. And I didn't understand it. And teachers would even enforce this and would say, yeah, it's no problem. It's Fastnacht, you can get silly. And there's something really dark, and I've sent you this in the notes. Every year during this time, very bad stuff happens. Like there was, for example, a murder of a man. He wasn't wearing a costume, and he was attacked by people who did. And they basically, I'm not sure if I can say this here, but they kicked him until he was dead. And the sentences they got were very light. Like one guy got 2.5 years on probation, and the other guys like 10 years. And those were local guys. Those were local guys that otherwise act very gentle. And no year passes without some serious incident, which is very violent. And people are like, oh yeah, people do what they want during this time. It's actually nuts. It reminds me of The Purge. Have you seen that movie?
Yeah. Yeah,
it is very similar. It's crazy actually, and I've seen it firsthand. Oftentimes they have clubs like the Wild Man has. There was just a picture with a guy. There, yeah. They have these canes or clubs, and they will beat people with it. And there's almost no year where there's not a skull fracture. Like people will randomly get ambushed by these club wielding freaks. Yeah, there's a very typical one with that wide mouth and the red lips.
That's the mask that I see more often.
That's very common. And people would come like this to school and to work. And teachers had only one rule. I can remember you have to take the mask off during class, but between class hours, they would put them back on and walk to the next classroom. And it was so strange. And for me, it was kind of tough because I didn't want to participate in this. It always freaked me out. And I am Christian now. Like 4 years ago, I accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. Before that, I had no idea what I was witnessing, and it was your work actually that brought me to understand what is going on here.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, I remember one of your very early videos. I think I don't know, was it 2018 when you?
It was 2016 when I started this series. Yeah, and I had a run until 2018, and then I stopped making content for 5 years because Aldi found the channel and forced me to stop. I know. Yeah, but I'm back. Here I am, and I did cover this briefly, just because it was so obvious. It was on the nose, and I did. Like I said, we were saying off air, I made the connection. This just seems like a continuation of the wild man tradition, which is everywhere in Europe. This just seems like a really extreme, odd, well ingrained into their society type of version. Very colourful and very, very on the nose. If I could say so myself, And I was curious. It's kind of like, what do the people who live here think they're doing?
Honestly, they think nothing, and you have to live here to understand this. The Swiss way of life is very much do your own thing, don't look left and right. There's very high profile people here and organizations I do not want to name because they could get you striked. But I think anyone here who is a regular viewer will know what kind of organization is here, what kind of meeting is done in Davos or Davos, as you say, each year. And it's people. I remember one time there was like a farmer in the news, and he told the news, "Oh, Barack Obama came over for coffee." That happened. You can find that online. So people here are really isolated from the rest of the world, and these people don't really need huge security detachments. Of course, they have huge security detachments, but they are very open and very bold. And there's no town, I think, you can find here without some Masonic, openly Masonic buildings. And because people are used to this. If you go to the email again.
Sure. So find this.
There was one picture. Like, this is something that happens in every town. Like I said, this key gets handed over and nobody bats an eye. Yeah, this is one of our Bundesräte. This is one of the highest currently in office politicians in the country. This is Mrs. Karin Keller-Sutter. And she was a member of the so-called Wiel Teufel. And that means the devils of Wiel. Wiel is a smaller place in Switzerland. And when she took office, and that's like, she recently just talked with Donald Trump, right? When she took office, she was accompanied by these guys, the people can here see on this picture. And nobody asked why is this happening. People cheered on and said, "Oh yeah, that's tradition, we like it." But what people don't realize, these guilds have infiltrated our society to a level that I think it's dangerous. Like I said, they get you into positions at work, and they will cover people that commit crimes to an extent. I have seen this first place. You won't find about any. You won't see this in the news. But I know, and of course I won't dox myself, but there's many towns and villages doing this. I know from local cases here where people were assaulted by people in these masks and injured and molested, and they systematically covered that up. And that's something that is very, that's very evil. And if you're a young woman here in Switzerland, usually you can walk the streets. It's one of the safest countries in the world. But I would argue during Fastnacht, during the carnival, it's not so safe anymore. And it's because of your local people acting crazy in masks. I remember when I was a child, I would walk down the street and there were 3 men. They had some, Nephilimified makeup on. They were just walking the street and suddenly they started screeching and dancing in a cycle, flailing their arms, casting smoke bombs on the ground. And as soon as they started, like after 30 seconds, they stopped and kept walking as if nothing happened.
Almost like they were possessed by something in the moment for no reason.
And I hope it's okay with my accent because it's a little hard to get the flow. This, what you have here, thank you for bringing that up. So this is the guild sign of I think it's the Lucerner Art Guild. And they specialize in making very high-end costumes. And I have to hand it to them. They make very detailed costumes. It's the third picture on that email. And there's the next one. So you can
see,
I mean, just look at that. I know the chat has a delay. I can't help but this looks like those entities the Israelites maybe were fighting in the desert. I mean, that stuff is...
They're definitely like a bird reptile type hybrid. Something or other. Look at those things.
And people grow up with the stuff here. And sometimes the church, be it the Catholic Church or the Protestant Church, we have both churches here. That's a whole other story for a separate video. They will criticize this. And then people are like, no, this is a Christian tradition. You don't understand. But they always do. So this picture in the pyramid, this is very demonic, right?
Well, I try to make sense of it. Like, is it 3 heads? Are the 3 faces there? One with a long nose to the left, a long white nose, thick lips, and like droopy eyes. And then in the middle is like a old man with a beard, maybe. And then there's this monstrous looking tentacled entity with sharp teeth and a long pointy nose looking down to the right, and then a star above them within a pyramid with light radiating down from the top. So I'm getting Luciferian vibes there. There's life on the left, death on the right there of the I don't know what type of vine that is necessarily, and there's some kind of shields on the either side, left and right, probably depicting, I'm guessing, the Switzerland bloodlines, families of some kind. I don't really know. I wouldn't know. You tell me what this is.
I will tell you. So I'm glad you bring this up and get a little bit of structure in this video. I have sent you a second picture with a typical gesture image that's in the last email.
Yes, it's this one.
And this explains it. So there's a text below it, and it reads, Nun sind unser zwei. And that translates to now there's 2 of us, or now we are 2. Now, if you go to Wikipedia, in German, I might add, and look up what that means, they say, oh, this is from the court jester tradition you talk about in your book. And the jester of the king's court would hold the mirror to the king and, show him how he is the fool. That's nonsense. That sentence there in old High German tells us that some second persona is entering that human.
Yeah.
And they will openly tell you that as soon as I have many former colleagues who told me, Thomas, the moment I put on this mask, I'm someone else. And that's literally true. So it is demon possession. So if you go back to that triangle.
Yes.
Sorry for jumping back and forth.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's okay.
That's what's important. So if you go back to the triangle, you have several personas, and each guild I talked about initially picks a theme. That theme can be anger. That theme can be a politician they want to mock. That theme can be anything, basically. Sometimes it's something rather harmless. It can be something like pirates or cowboys. That's usually done for the kids. But the adults, as you have seen on your search, they will pick some sort of grotesque imagery. And I think they don't pick this on their own, because when they prepare for Fastnacht, after they have been given this key, in great secrecy, they prepare what kind of costume they will build. And how they do it is a secret. You have to join in order to find out. And I know some people use drugs, and very potent drugs. LSD is sometimes used. And there's like two subcultures. Like there's this purist subculture of Fastnacht who says, oh, we only use alcohol, which is in itself not good. But then there is, I would say, a rather new group, like 30 years old. They will use substances. And it honestly makes sense how they come up with something like this. Exactly. Like, what even is that?
I thought you were alluding to this when you said it. Yeah.
Yeah, like, that doesn't make any sense. And behind that thing, you can see this wagon.
Yes.
That's these wagons they build in secrecy. And sometimes they try to sabotage the other group, that they can't finish their wagon, or they want to see what kind of wagon it is. Each town or village has their own spiel of this. And like I said, I know here from my personal experience, from where I grew up, there was one case they broke into one guy's house in his garage and stole all the stuff to build this, and the police was involved, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what's going on down here. So
look at that thing.
Yeah, right.
The only thing I can imagine that would inspire such a thing is you've taken a copious amount of DMT, and with a notepad in hand, hoping to get a glimpse of something on the other side. These everything. I mean, even in the original, like the original Wild Man traditions, going down to Dionysus cults, were all about getting into a frenzy with drugs and alcohol. Obviously embodying the wild man itself, or that wild spirit, shall we say. That's why Dionysus was seen traveling around with fawns and satyrs and maenads and naked women and half goat, half men monster things. And it's kind of, they were obviously being possessed by the spirits of the beast in a way. And like I said, when someone puts on a mask, it's serious business. It's serious spiritual business. Actually, it's not a joke, you know. And these festivals are like a celebration of that. And like you said, men walking down the street wearing these masks will have outbursts of violence for no reason and carrying on as though nothing has happened. Outbursts of laughter and manicness just for no reason whatsoever. And everyone's like, "Oh, that's just a Tuesday during Fastnacht, that's nothing." Yeah, like it's just let's get back to work, children. And that's so absurd when you really get down to like brass tacks about this. Like, this is open possession through channeling, through masks and costume, and everyone's like, this is completely normal. It's just tradition. It baffles me. It really does. Sorry, go ahead. I'm rambling. Go ahead.
No, that's right. I need a little bit of guidance because I'm not a native speaker. So now I ask myself, why do they do this? You once said in other cultures they do this to invoke the thing, to get something from it.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect picture for this. But why do they do this? Because they say they want to scare away the demons. And we know that doesn't make sense. It's either one way or the other.
Yeah.
And I had, maybe it's an epiphany, maybe it's just a schizo theory of mine, but what if the organizations that live here in Switzerland, that have their HQ here, again, you know probably who I'm referring to, and that was this thing that happened 2020 to 2022. Lots of those companies have their base of operations here.
That's right.
Yeah. So what if the government wants this to happen and they are making the deal with those entities? Like the Mudang shaman doesn't get anything out of it. They get paid that they relay information to someone else.
Yes.
And each year, this country has this huge occult thing going on, and this country is doing exceptionally well. Like you said initially, for 350 years, 2 world wars, we're getting richer every year. We are never harmed by anything outside. This country seems to miraculously do well. And they try to paint this picture, like this cliche, we are still a nation following God, like our amendments, like we have a very similar legislation like the US, Very few know that, but we do have. As a matter of fact, some people say the US was modeled after Switzerland. And they say, oh, we have God in our constitution, and it indeed starts with Im Namen Gottes des Allmächtigen. That means in the name of God the Almighty. That's the reason we are doing so well. But a nation of God doesn't do the stuff you see in this picture. No. And we're talking hundreds of thousands of people on the street each year doing this stuff you see here. What if this energy, or this, like the energy of all these possessed demons, goes to someone who profits off of it and says, look, each year I will give you 500,000 people who dress like you, and you can enter them and do what you want, drink, rape, all these things. And in return, you make this country safe so we can have our base of operations here. It's just a wild take, but it's so endorsed, and the whole city gets locked down. Police will, there's no business going on for 1 week. That's severe losses in revenue. And Switzerland is a very busy country. People here love to work. Like, we have these democratic votings, and people voted against having more vacation a few years ago. And the whole world was shocked. Why are they voting against more vacation? People love to work here. Except during this time. Maybe it serves a purpose. And I don't know. You know more about this than me, but I think someone else maybe is cashing in.
Well, like I said, the surface level exoteric understanding is that this is a time of excess, a time to let loose, a time to let the wild man out, to become more beast than man, to kind of, so you can go on living civilized for the rest of the year. Basically, that's the traditional understanding of any of these type of wild man traditions. That's what the point was. They're usually linked with Lent, and a fasting period that comes immediately afterwards. They've been highly Christianized on the surface, mainly thanks to Catholic, rule throughout Europe through the Middle Ages, and kind of like a Christianization of pagan ritual. And I think this is what you end up with. You end up with these events where they're primarily what they call Christian countries taking part in Dionysian wildman traditions, which is so odd when you really think about it. But it's also, I guess, the attitude is usually, everything's lawful under Christ. It's not sinful to do these things, and we're doing it, to scare away evil spirits, and to, and it's like, we're not really doing it to venerate them. We're just doing it to make fun of them, to make light of them. We're not called to have a spirit of fear anymore over demons. We've conquered over them, and it's kind of like a celebration of that. These kind of underpinned attitudes are kind of laid onto it to kind of justify doing these things. But then when you like I said, when you just look at the rest of the earth, these cultures are already doing this themselves, and they don't claim it to be in any way like a dismissal of demons or something like that. They say, no, we do this to dress like them, to let them into our bodies so we can get stuff from them. Like, they tell you that's why they're doing it. We do it to get things from demons, from spirits. Like, we dress like them to be possessed by them. And
it goes even deeper.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, why is it any different in the West just because we say, well, we're doing it to scare them? Like, it's just bullshit. Like, it's one or the other. It cannot be both. It doesn't work like that. Intentionality really has very little to do with it. And I think what you're saying there is fantastic and very on point, this idea that, well, maybe the country itself, or those who rule the country, or really lead the countries, these families who have settled there, who are perhaps more allegiance to, let's say, Lucifer or the devil or Satan in the secret societies, maybe they have made a transactional deal. It's kind of like, we'll give you hundreds of thousands of people every year in our country to dress like you, to give you portals into our realm. But in return, like you said, we want stuff, like I said, like wealth, protection, the usual things. Power and wealth is usually what most, even these other countries who do this, even these little tribes in Africa or India that do this, are after power and wealth. They're the two things they're always after, okay? The power to defeat my enemy over there on the other side of the river, or the ability to be rich and powerful in my own tribe. It's something like that, usually. And this is just a grand scale on a more of like a world stage sort of situation. I want my country to be powerful. Well, the bigger the power, the more sacrifice. So what are you going to give us? Well, I'll put a festival on every year, and I'll convince them to dress like you every year, and you have free reign in this country every year to get those things you crave so desperately because you don't have a body anymore. Drugs, sex, alcohol, whatever it is, whatever your vice is, food and the rest. You know, it's a festival. Like, it's a carnival.
Exactly.
Lots of things happening. Everything you want to do, you can do at a festival. You know, it's like fulfill every desire. And it's kind of this can only be seen as a placation of demons. From my perspective now, from what my research has shown me, it's just hidden. It's a cult. You're not supposed to know that's what it's for. And as always, that's what this picture is showing. Well, it's just a bit of fun for the kids.
Yeah, and that's
always that. Yeah. Go ahead, sorry.
So something that's very interesting, maybe interesting for your book, and I know many people, including myself, think that we are in the time after the millennial reign. I don't want to get into that too much, but the Catholic Church had a very other opposite stance. It was forbidden under the threat of death to dress as an entity named Krampus or Krampus. It's that entity you can see here. And suddenly that stance changed in the 16th century, around 1580, 1560, and it coincidentally falls onto the same time they introduced the Gregorian calendar. And before they introduced these new laws allowing Fastnacht, at least during my research, I wasn't able to find any resource after the year of 1077. So there's like 400 years of nothing happened. And suddenly, around 1580, 1590, all of these traditions get permitted. Before that, if you dressed as Krampus, you could get killed or severely punished. Like, we're talking life imprisonment, like very severe punishment, usually only carried out for capital offenses like murder, rape, treason, and dressing as a Krampus. So why was exactly this entity you can see on this picture so outlawed? Food for thought. And this is the one that usually interacts with children. You probably noticed, but Krampus would come in the same time of the year, or around the same time where Samhain, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, would take place.
Samhain.
Samhain, yeah, thanks. Yeah. So the naughty children would get taken in the back, and he would take him. Yeah, there you can see that. It's horrible. Like this, and this entity is very prevalent. And like I said, until 15-ish, 1580-ish, something around that time, it was prohibited by death to do this. And yeah, I have seen them every year, and I was terrified as a child, you know. And I don't know how anyone could justify having these things in the street, and they are violent. Like in Austria, if we go over the border, Austria borders Switzerland, and Switzerland is tiny, you know. Like, all of these traditions are usually spilling out into the neighboring countries, like Cologne in Germany. Krampus is even bigger in Austria, and they are known to be violent. They are known to chase women and hurt them. And I know personally, I have been told by former friends and people I know that they have been molested by these participants. And the police turns a blind eye, and they would tell him, "Oh, you know, it's Fastnacht. You can't be on the street if you don't want that." And
it's your own fault.
Yeah. And interestingly, now, you know, we have a lot of people now in, how can I say this without getting you a strike? But there's many people coming into Europe that maybe do not contribute to society. And these people are terrified when they see this. They stay away. They know what this is. They are terrified. So, yeah,
it seems like a very pernicious, thoroughly seeped into European type culture demon. This one, specifically, I mean, this reminds me, actually, that just on this reminds me of the Lincolnshire Imp. Have you ever heard of this one before? Within the cathedral in Lincolnshire, this thing has been. It's just randomly there, like in the top of one of the arches. And again, this is spread throughout all of Europe. You'll find the visage of this type of demon everywhere. This is just one small example that I knew, because obviously I lived in Lincoln for a few years for university. I just remember this one specifically, and this is actually like the mascot of the place.
Weird.
Everyone loves this thing. You know what I mean? This is in front of the castle. It's on every emblem. I think it's even on like the football team, Lincolnshire FC. So just see what's going on. Yep, there it is. Like they've got it on there. You know, it's a big part of it. It's odd. It's odd. It's odd that in a place where there's a Catholic cathedral, that would be the symbol that they chose. Like, I don't really. Very strange. Sorry, I went off track there. You carry on.
Yeah. So no, it's fine. I mean, I love this exchange because these things, this imp guy, that could be from a local tradition here. And now we're getting into the freaky stuff. So there's quite a few cryptids here in Switzerland. And you wouldn't think that because Switzerland is very small, but we have very mountainous regions, and you can't get there without a rope. Like, you really need to know how to climb. And I used to do that when I was a much younger man. And sometimes you need a rope to get to these very high up forests. And there can be forests that are thousands of years old, just like 200 or 300 square meters. You know, it's a very small area. And I have seen actually, and I'm not the only one, an entity like this. And again, this was before I knew Christ. And actually, that's one of the events that brought me to Christ, when it was about 3 meters tall, red eyes, very long arms, and I was so scared I couldn't really talk. And even though I wasn't a Christian, I just suddenly had this name in my head, Jesus. And I wanted to say Jesus, but I couldn't. But at the moment I started thinking about Jesus, it stopped that in its tracks. And then I started praying in German, Vater unser im Himmel, geheiligt werde dein Name. That's the Lord's Prayer, I think, in Our Father in Heaven. And it went away. And of course, nobody would believe me, but I know what I have seen, and I know other people have seen it too. Because the older guys, I then went into the neighboring villages, and because I was shocked, it turned my life around basically, and eventually led me to Christ. Because what was this thing I just witnessed? Why did it stop when I said Jesus? Why did? And I talked to the guys in this town, and were close to the place where I was climbing, and they told me, "Oh yeah, we know about this. We don't go there. Are you crazy?" Like they weren't surprised at all, and they urged me to never go back. And that's a very average story. I mean, it's much longer. And long story short, I think many people here know, but they are used to it. Just like those guys in the Appalachian forests. I hope I pronounced that correctly, in the US. Many people, oh yeah, there's Bigfoot. Yeah, we know. And, I used to talk. I had friends in the US, natives. I knew from work, and I talked actually about my experience with them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we call them skinwalkers. You know, we know about this." So I think it's all the same, all over the world. And,
I mean, then what you're describing is this wild, hairy beast, giant creature thing with a horrible, wide, sharp-toothy grin, and sometimes horns or bulging eyes or long limbs is quite common. Obviously, you have Bigfoot. You've got the Yeti is another one there in the Himalayas. It's the exact same creature when you actually get down to brass tack. When you look at like the theme, they're everywhere. They even have them in Australia. Like the exact same description, this particular creature. And I think it's interesting that this is what they dress as for Fastnatch, because this is the one that seems to be actually still alive and on Earth. It's not even like a spirit, in a sense. It's more of a veneration of a real demon that still exists, in a sense. And it's wandering around and is everywhere. I put it down to, I think this is my working theory. I've said it a few times, but I think they are the true descendants of the original Nephilim, but a very watered down version. Do you get what I mean? Like, they got a lot smaller than the original ones, a lot hairier as time went on because of they're usually in colder climates. I think they've adapted. Yes. And I think that's why they get hairier, because they're usually very high up as well, in high altitudes. And I think that's. But then in India, the Rakshasa demons are hairless, completely, because it's hot as hell there. You know what I mean? And they don't need all the fur. And I think under the fur, you have something that looks a lot like, let's say, a Rakshasa on a temple in
I've seen that.
Bali, I think it's the same creature basically.
I think so.
Without the hair. You know what I mean? There you go. There's not really any different.
No, not at all.
Just cover that thing in hair, and you've got Krampus. That's what you have. And I think there's a reason for that. I think it's because they have adapted to wherever they settled, basically. And I think these are the ones that are still around. But I think the really old school, like Rakshasas from the original form, the spirits that look like this, the ones that look like clowns, I think they're the ones that you're channeling when you dress like them. And I'm not sure what to make of the Krampus necessarily, because it's a wholly distinctly. This is this very distinct visage, isn't it? It's very different from like the stereotypical demons I've been talking about that look like clowns, for example, or the jesters or something like this. So I don't know. What's your take on all that? What do you think?
Well, I think someone in the chat is, what if the real ones show up for Carnival physically? And I'm glad your chat is down for that, because now it's getting freaky. So I have personally seen things during these events each year that cannot be explained. Like last year, I tried to get home with my wife before the freaks come out, but we didn't make it in time. And we both heard and felt a huge shadow, like a huge bird, glide over us. And when we got home, our pet was terrified. That was very strange. And stuff like that happens almost every year. And I could tell you much more of the encounters I had, but I don't want to, dox myself. So, but people go missing in Swiss mountains every year, and they are not always found. And that is very strange, because we have a very advanced search and rescue, so advanced, in fact, that they fly out our Swiss experts to the US and to all over the world to teach other people, and they're really good. It's called Swiss Rega, and it's air rescue. And when somebody gets lost in a very small area, they can find them often. And I myself know of someone, or I used to know them, and they walked into the forest and never returned. And they are usually classified as suicide, or they slipped. And we have a saying, and it says that in the mountains, your life is worthless. Pretty cruel saying, right? And if you look up people going missing in Switzerland, it happens every year. Sometimes they find them, of course. I mean, it's very dangerous. We have a lot of climbers that come from all over the world, and oftentimes they are ill-equipped, and they will, slip and die. But we don't have large predators, or very, very few. We have very few bears and wolves. So you can't really explain them eating them. It's not like in the US, where you can say, oh, yeah, well, they are. It's a very small country. Like, we are only like 7 million here. So where are these people going? It makes no sense.
Yeah. I think there's something dodgy is going on.
It is.
Maybe this, because like Switzerland itself, maybe, like I said, because it seems like the elite have set up camp there.
They have.
And
they have.
If there's a higher concentration of creatures like this in the surrounding area, right. I think they work with each other. I think they're in cahoots. I think they have. Maybe this is why. Maybe this is, and maybe sacrifices are made to them, given to them as kind of, I don't know. Maybe they advertise every year. Come hiking in the Swiss Alps. You'll love it. It'll be an amazing experience, and not realizing that they're just kind of ushering in more fodder for food for these things in some way. I don't know. Who knows? And people are easy to find. Usually you wear bright colors. I don't know if you ever went mountaineering, but you make sure you get found. You wear bright clothes. You wear a GPS tracker. You make sure that rescue teams find you. And usually they do, dead or alive. But there's too many cases I have personally witnessed, and there are only a small notice in the local newspaper where people just vanish. I remember, and it was a very tragic case. A father and his son went hunting, and they were like 20 kilometers away from home. They had phones, they had everything. They never returned, vanished without a trace. And the authorities looked for them for, I think, 2 weeks. Nothing. Nothing. Very weird. And that was actually in a place where there was cryptid sightings going on for quite a while,
where local tradition would tell people, oh, don't go into that corner of the woods. And that made the news, even national-wide. So that's why I know about it. So I think Switzerland isn't not everything is gold that is shining. That's what we like to say here.
And not everything that glitters is gold is what we say. Yeah, there we go. I like that. Right. Well, Thomas, I mean, we've come up to the end of our time here.
Yeah, sure.
The callers, but that was fascinating. Thank you. Thanks for sharing all of that.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Maybe you can incorporate that into your new book. I don't know.
Oh, well, I am currently writing about every single continent's own little rituals and festivals that venerate these things. And yes, Fastnacht has its own section, because it's not only Fastnacht itself. That carnival, that particular festival, that style of festival has spread with colonialism, and it's in Brazil, for example, where the Portuguese have gone. You know what I mean? It's everywhere. It's in New Orleans. You know what I mean? It's Mardi Gras. It's the same thing. And the European influence of these particular type of events have spread earthwide because of this. You know, people have brought this tradition with them and created like new flavors of it, because like I said, Mardi Gras, for example, is mixed with Haitian voodoo, and it's become a very strange blend of European Celtic Sunnunos worshipping Krampus style Dionysius cults with Haitian African Vodun religion mixed in with Freemasonry. It's a really odd blend, and it seems like wherever these things appear, like Freemasonry is never far behind as well, especially with the more modern festivals. And it's all connected. It's all connected. And it all goes back to really ancient rituals that quite literally venerate demons. That's literally where they come from. There's no two ways about it. You can't argue with me about this. This is the history. You know what I mean? And whether you say it's something innocent today, it's not. It never was. It never has been innocent. It's just kind of, we've been blinded to it. It's been normalized, I think, is the point you were trying to make here. Like it's just normal now. It's just tradition. It's what we do. But again, Thomas, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Stay in touch. Send me any more information whatsoever, and I'll make sure to credit you in the book when I'm talking about it in that chapter. You'll get a special mention, and I'll say I was talking to somebody in an interview, and they explained very clearly what's going on in this country. Let's go through it. I'll mention you specifically.
Thank you.
Indirectly. No problem. Thank you.
I will send you some more info I wasn't able to touch on today. Maybe it's interesting.
Of course, maybe we'll do it again. Maybe we'll do another one of these call-ins and we'll go through some more stuff.
Much more stories to share.
Okay, right. Thanks for that. God bless. We'll speak to you soon.
God bless. Bye.
Bye now. Fantastic. Well, that was good, wasn't it? Wasn't that fun? I enjoyed that. That was a great conversation. This is why we do these things. Just so you guys know, my image might just suddenly jump away from you in a second. Because I keep setting up. Nope, we're all good. I'm setting up the Zoom call for the next caller, so I'm just going to quickly get that link sorted and get that sent to them so we can get straight into it when I come back after the break. So what I'm going to do the usual thing. I'm going to play one of Judah Sargent's. It is Judah Sargent. I'm getting his name wrong. I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. Yeah, Judah Sargent's song. And obviously you can go check him out on Spotify under Yahweh and the Vagabond. And when we get back, I have somebody who wants to share their testimony of coming to Christ through the psychedelic realms. And obviously psychedelic exploration, very much like myself. So I think we can have a good conversation here. And of course, I think we're going to get another guest on at the end if he can get back to me. And he's going to share some UFO sightings that he's been through. I think might be quite interesting. I'm looking forward to this one. So I'm just going to send the link out there right now to Freya, our next guest. I'm going to start the song for the break, guys. We'll be back soon. Give it about 5 minutes. Stick around. Lots more to come. And I enjoyed that. I'm going to have a lot to think about in the meantime. But here's Judah Sargent.
I heard him shout, "Seek still ashes." I cried steadfast as my blood dripped on out. 40 men swore to an oath not to swallow one thing until my death. I'd fight, but it be in your hands. ready to beg, privileged to trust you. I'll worship and stay, anguish burning in my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to fold, to pray. Thank you, Lord. Million years I'd see before I'd ever think this would go down. A second more will keep my knee from above. Yeah. Bound are my hands beyond bars, to chains for you. Temptation sings a sweet song to break free, but I will be home soon. Battered by Euroglide on to get across the sea, and gotta follow my captain in the sky. God, my scars are ready to beg, privileged to trust you. I'll worship and stay, at anguish burning in my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to God, my scars are ready to beg, privileged to trust you. I'll worship and stay, at anguish burning in my pleas are that I can, under all these stones, still combine my hands to
And we're back. Wasn't that nice? That song never gets old. I don't know what it is. I just love listening to it every time. Mainly because I save myself to listen to it only when I do the live show. So I give myself a break in between. So I'm not tired of it yet. But yeah, if you guys enjoy that, go check out Judas Sargent on Spotify. He goes under Yahweh and The Vagabond. Great stuff. His album there is... I think this is a small album. I want to get the name of the album right just so you guys don't miss out. I think it's just off an EP called Vagabond. Yeah, I think it is just Yahweh and the Vagabond. It's like an EP with 3 songs on it, and that one's fantastic. But he has lots of other songs as well. He has other albums, so go check him out if you haven't already. But yeah, guys, I do have another guest lined up. This one reached out to me, sent me a message on Instagram of all places, and was actually buried in my spam folder for some reason. And I just by chance was skimming through it and I found it, and she was telling me that she very much had a similar story to me, a bit of a psychedelic experience in the past, and was coming to Christ. And I think she has some good news she wants to share with us. I think she's had quite a busy day. So let me just admit Freya into the chat here. And give me 1 second. She should come through in a minute. There we go. Hello, Freya. Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Excellent. I think the guys can hear you too. Fantastic. So, yeah, I just gave you a brief introduction there to the guys. They're listening in now. And I ended by saying, I don't think you would have heard this, but you've had quite an eventful day, haven't you? Do you want to perhaps announce what you've been up to?
Yes, I've been baptised in the sea in my local beach. I live like 1 minute walk from my church and the beach. And that's why I'm a little bit sunburnt today. But it was epic. The sun, it was just, everything about it exceeded all of my hopes. So I'm very happy.
That's fantastic, Freya. Well, I'm glad to hear it. And yeah, it's been a particularly hot week for us in the UK. I'm looking a bit pink myself right now, and I can't believe I ordered myself a hoodie as a uniform for this shirt. Big mistake. I've got a fan blasting right next to me right here, but I imagine that was an amazing experience. And like I said, congratulations.
Yeah.
And
thank you.
Obviously, you reached out to me and you said you had a bit of a similar experience to myself, and I'll give the floor to you. And if you want to maybe tell your testimony to the guys, you've got it for about maybe 20 minutes or so before we can get the next guest on. So I'll give it to you.
So when I first got saved, one of the first things that I wanted to do was find ex-psychonauts that had become born again Christians. I was like, they must be out there somewhere, because I can't be the only one that's had that transition and to have those experiences. Because, like, I mean, it's the old cliche phrase, like, "Are you experienced?" Like Jimi Hendrix back in the 60s, there was that phrase, "Are you experienced?" Because there was no point talking to someone about psychedelics who hadn't done psychedelics. And it's similar in Christianity. Like, if you're not inside of the faith and you don't know what it means to be saved by Jesus, like, you might as well be talking in a foreign language. Like, they don't get it. And it's like, so, you know, me and you are in a very particular situation in which we straddle 2 situations in which you have to be experienced to get it. Else you're just talking to a brick wall. Like, people are just like, it just goes over their head. So I was just hungry to find people that got both realms, both dimensions of thing. I can tell you a brief version of my testimony, but I feel like the most important thing to say is about like the false promises of the psychedelics and all that kind of like weird stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I got saved in March, and literally like a few months ago. And before then, I was kind of like Jesus curious. I was one of those spiritual but not religious types, you know, those really like smug, annoying people that think they've got all the answers, and like I'm just gonna like ditch thousands of years of carefully curated history and scripture, and I basically think I can figure it out on my own. Like, I was one of those people, and so stupid. I look back now. And so I got saved in March, and I was with a mate, and we were getting merry. We were doing some party drugs, you know, like there was a lot going on. And within the blink of an eye, the air in the room changed, and my mate noticed it as well. And we clocked eyes with each other, and we said, like, something's just happened in the room. I don't know what, but something spooky has just occurred. And I was using all of my new age woo-woo sort of language, like, we've had an energy upgrade, man. Like, we've changed timelines, man.
Classic.
We're in the 5th dimension, man. I just genuinely knew that something had happened, but I just didn't know what to call it at the time. Now, obviously, talking to other Christians, I know that it was the Holy Spirit, and that was what being saved, that's what being baptized by the Holy Spirit is. That's what it feels like. And I felt like I went from being you know, wavy, wonky, a bit, you know, high, a bit spangled, a bit drunk, all that kind of chaotic mindset of just being wrecked, basically. I went from that to being stone cold sober, but higher, naturally higher than I'd ever felt in my life. And I remember standing up and I felt taller, like my center of gravity had shifted. And I remember looking in the mirror and just going like something's happening here. And then my husband came home and I said, do I seem any different to you? Like, do I seem, are you noticing something here? And he was just like, you've taken drugs, go to bed, like, don't worry about it. But like, that feeling never left me. Like that wasn't just drugs, you know, that wasn't just some temporary little like mental blip or something. This is how I've been feeling for like the last 4 or 5 months. And within the space of a week, I had completely, and this is naturally without even trying, I'd completely managed to quit my vaping addiction, which had plagued me for the last couple of years. I had no interest in drinking, and I used to drink every day, 9 days out of 10. I had no desire to do party drugs anymore. And, you know, before March, I was a big part of the drum and bass rave scene. I was going to nightclubs every weekend, festivals, day raves, going hardcore, like MDMA, ketamine, you name it. And that, I just had no appetite for that anymore. That completely dried up. I didn't want to swear anymore, which was the weirdest thing, because again, like, I used to swear like a pirate, and every time I saw it, just felt, I don't know, clunky, a bit weird. And I had loads of things, like a lot of emotional issues got resolved. And it's funny, before I got saved, I used to literally call my emotional issues, I used to call them my demons. Like, that's what I used to call them. And now, you know, learning about like Mary Magdalene and how she had her 7 demons that she was healed from, I'm like, yeah, I can relate to that. I feel like I could name 7 as well, at least. And I like the feeling of failure, the feeling of comparison, jealousy, insecurity, oh, just you name it. Like, I used to stay awake at 4 o'clock every night, you know, just thinking about the latest drama, the latest whatever. And that all vanished, to the point where I'd forgotten that I ever felt like that, actually. It just completely, like, that part of my brain got lobotomized. It just went. And then and I suppose I started kind of reverse engineering the sequence of events, because people would ask me, like, how did you know it was Jesus? And I was like, oh yeah, I'd been watching like a few episodes of that Chosen series, and I'd been reading like the latest Jordan Peterson book, and, you know, like that I'd slowly been like kind of curious about these things, you know, amidst all of my other curiosities like ayahuasca and Buddhism and life coaching, and, you know, it was in the soup of things that I was interested in. And then I started, like, there's a church, my church is like literally down the road, and as I kind of started going to the church and started talking to other Christians, like they were explaining and describing their own experience, and it was literally what I was experiencing. So it's like the more I talk to other Christians, the more it's like evidence that this is true, and that this isn't just a delusion that I'm having. This isn't just a phase. This isn't just some like fantastical thinking. Like, the more I talk to other Christians, I'm like, oh yeah, we're like onto something. Like, you know, it's been the biggest religion of the world for like the longest time. They can't all be having an individual fantastical delusion. Like, there's got to be some capital T truth going on here. So yeah, that is my testimony in a nutshell. But the contrast, the life before is probably the most juicy and interesting part, really. So in brief, like, I had a very dysfunctional childhood, like very strange. I'll spare the details, but like before the age of 8, I had witnessed and experienced like going into prisons, going into mental hospitals, going into foster care, sexual abuse, neglect, bullying, you know, just you name it. Like, it was just like bingo, you know. And so as a result of that, and also to say that I was raised by really new age hippie parents that were really dysfunctional themselves, really traumatized. You know, they were victims of their own circumstance in various ways, and they were not able to be parents. So I was just feral. I just like hid. My kind of survival strategy was just to hide away and not interact with the world. Like, I was a late talker. I was tested for autism. I used to lock myself in my bedroom whenever I could. So, and I didn't leave the house. And if my mum got me to leave the house, I wouldn't leave the car. Like, I was just really like not able to interface with the world. And so that kind of led me into being a very bullied and very promiscuous teenager. So I was trying to get attention from all the wrong places, you know, fueled by a lot of daddy issues as well, you know, to use a horrible phrase. And then in my 20s, I got into sex work, and that was a big part of my 20s. Like, sex work and cocaine was my 20s, essentially. Just really trying to lock myself away from the world, not wanting to engage with the world because I didn't have the skills, I didn't have the framework, the support. I just didn't know. I was lost, you know. I didn't know how to be in the world. I didn't want to be in the world.
Yeah.
And then it was kind of, towards the end of my 20s, my friend said to me, "Hey Freya, you're down for anything. Do you want to go to an ayahuasca retreat?" And that's when the psychedelic thing started. And my response was, "Yeah, man, if it gets you high, I'm down. I'll do whatever." You know, I was so gung-ho. Like, if it was a drug, I was interested. But ayahuasca was the first psychedelic I ever did. So talk about going in the deep end.
That's pretty hardcore,
Yeah. So went to Berlin, and the first night was horrific. I really put up a lot of walls, and I had a lot of bravado going in, and, you know, as you know, psychedelics will kind of like punch out of you a little bit if you have that resistance. So I was convinced in the morning that it didn't work, it was a load of shit, and I was going to go home. But thankfully they talked me into staying, and the second night was much softer because I'd kind of broken by that. I was so knackered and so broken that it kind of got in a bit more.
Yeah.
So that put me on a path to, I did 20 ayahuasca ceremonies over the course of about 6 or 7 years. So it became quite an obsession, going all over Europe, going to these, like, they weren't fancy retreats, but, you know, you're talking like a good few £100 for, like, you know, I mean, that's something else to say, isn't it, about the spiritual capitalist thing that goes on. It's a little bit, it's everything costs, you know, £1,111, and you can pay it in installments of 333 and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, side note.
Sounds right, doesn't it? Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. And and the more I got into ayahuasca, obviously I was getting curious about other things. I got into doing a lot of mushrooms at home. I did one mushroom ceremony in, like, you know, in a kind of pseudo shamanic modern sense. That was hardcore. That was the proper 5 grams Terence McKenna style. That was crazy. And at that same retreat, I actually hosted one of the nights, and I was a ceremonial musician. So that got my ego nice and fluffed up, and I thought I was the big I am. And also I got really into DMT in particular. I still have a DMT vape in my cupboard. Like, I got rid of all, when I first came to Jesus, I had a very strong voice telling me, get rid of all of your drugs. And at the time I was like, oh, no, I can't do that. They might come in handy. They don't have a shelf life. They'll last forever. And God's like, no, you have to get rid of your drugs. I'm like, no, okay. So I did, I obeyed, and I really didn't want to. But I kind of had this cheeky little voice that said, the DMT vape, that can stay. It was kind of like, it was as if to say, like, not necessarily for you, but maybe you'll meet someone and you can gift it, or you can pass it on to someone else, or it was kind of like that's going to come in useful feeling. So I don't know what that means yet, but I have no interest.
Maybe it's going to be one of those things where you're trying to tell somebody what it's really all about. Like, what do you know? And you say, well, I've got this.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I've been there, so, you know, I know exactly what's going on. It's funny you mentioned the whole giving up the drugs thing. I actually had a bag of DMT myself when I was born again, that I gave to somebody else. Like, I probably should have destroyed it at the time, but I just said, I had this friend who I tripped regularly with. I was like, do you want it? She was like, I don't want this. I don't want this around, So he took it in the end, and I think he did his own thing. I don't know. I haven't seen him in years, so I don't know anymore, But it's one of those. It's just funny coincidence that you mentioned that. But go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I gave one of my friends. I said to him, like, this will probably incriminate me or whatever, but I said to him, like, do you want like an absolute like smorgasbord of random psychedelics? Because I can send you like things you've never even heard of, things that you cannot pronounce, like 4-MAOHC. Do you know what I mean? All these like weird psilocybin analogs and stuff. I like Watuma powder, put like all like mescaline, like all sorts of, and I sent him like DMT crack pipes and everything. I was like, there you go. I labeled it all up and was like, enjoy. So, but yeah, so that's kind of, actually that segues on something really nicely, which is like that is I think possibly one of the, if not the only useful things about psychedelics, is if you are dealing with someone that's like a staunch atheist, like a little cheeky toke on that DMT vape and you ain't an atheist anymore.
That's what happened to me, basically. Yeah. So, well, it was Salvia that did it for me. That was my first one. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but
back in the day,
17-year-old me had his mind blown wide open. I'll say that much, And I wasn't an atheist anymore. Richard Dawkins was staunchly put back on the shelf, and I was like, well, he's wrong. he was talking out of his ass, wasn't he? Never mind.
Literally. Someone needs to put acid in his drinking water, that's for sure.
And then obviously, like I said, you tend to go down that new age route next because people like me and you have seen similar, roughly similar backgrounds. Like, why would I go to Christianity first?
Exactly. Like Christianity was like too cliche. It was too normal. It was too mainstream. Like, surely it's not that. Surely it's not that. Exactly. So yeah, I tried everything, like the Buddhism, the shamanism, all the Eastern philosophy stuff, like. Literally, like and the reason why I know Christianity is true is like I've tried everything. I've tried every methodology, every spiritual philosophy, every theological idea, every psychedelic drug. I've tried everything. I've exhausted every option, and I was left with Christianity, and I'm like, oh, this actually is the bedrock. I've drilled so deep that I've hit the bedrock, and this is it now. Like. I've come to the end of the road. Like this works in a way that blows everything out of the water.
Yeah.
But like going back to like the psychedelics thing, like, 'cause I've still got a few friends in the new age medicine community world, and it's just like the thing that became really inconvenient, because I thought psychedelics, plant medicine, such a horrible phrase, isn't it? But like the thing that got really inconvenient over time was two things, and one of them I heard you hit on, which is like, and it's exactly the word I used as well, like, those people are insufferable. Like, I have love for them and I'll pray for them, but wow, like the ego is strong. Like, I've heard so many one-liners come out of these people's mouths that you just go like, what are you saying? Like, we went to some psychedelic festival and me and my husband, we walked past someone and she was saying, my spiritual body is very large. And we just looked at each other going, what are you saying?
Shut up.
What, like, and all this, like, it's become a joke, hasn't it, online? Like all this 5-dimensional starseed people that think they're from like aliens and they talk alien like light language and they can heal your DNA and all this stuff. And I just remember like curiously kind of pointing it out to my new age friends and saying, isn't that a bit much? Isn't that smells like bullshit to me? And they like any questioning over, the new age doctrine, and they couldn't handle it. Like, I was too honest and too real for those people. Like, I didn't say the right things, I didn't wear the right things, I was too upfront and honest, and like I was a truth seeker, like you. That's all I ever cared about, like, was just calling out the bullshit when I saw it. And I couldn't stand the hippie culture that was attached to it either,
Because I was just doing them because I sincerely wanted to know what the truth was. I was like, what is going on in the spirit realm then? What is this? What's happening? You know, and you got to explore to find out is what you feel. And inevitably, I'm not saying doing drugs leads you to Christ, but in my particular journey from where I came from, my background, God used those experiences to get me to the truth. You know, it's kind of like, well, if that's what Paul's doing right now while he's lost and in the mud, then I'm going to roll him through it till he gets to the end and sees Jesus. You know, it feels like that's what was going on, you know. And not everyone gets there, but you meet these people along the way, which are like, you're an absolute fucking lunatic. Like, you are insane. Like,
and they dress like Jesus as well, which is really funny.
Yeah, but like they just they do, yeah. And it's kind of like they're absolutely just so full of themselves while claiming to have lost their ego. And I'm like, are you joking? Like, you are the biggest like fraud I've ever met in my entire life.
And there's a lot of drama, there's a lot of bitching, there's a lot of competitiveness, and like the church is the absolute opposite of that. You know, it doesn't.
Hopefully,
the medicine
sometimes.
Well, yeah. I mean, in my humble short experience so far. So let's hope that continues.
Yeah.
But yeah. So actually, I've got an analogy that I'd love to run by you because I think you'll get it. So I was trying to figure out what is the difference. So like, if I'm now in Christ and Christ is in me, and I've got that like connection to God, I'm hooked up to the main line. Like, I've got that now. So the question for me was like, well, what on earth? Was like, what is hyperspace? Where is hyperspace? What does that represent? Who are the entities? Because like you, I believe it all to be absolutely true. I don't think it's a trick of the mind. I think it's legit. You cannot tell me that the trips I've been on have been an illusion or been fake in any way. Like, they're more real than like the room I'm sat in now. Like, sometimes, like, it's crazy. So I came up with this weird analogy. I don't know if you remember being at school, and there was a science experiment where you'd have a big bottle and you'd have to fill up the bottle with like random different types of liquids. So stay with me, right? So there would be like honey, oil, water, milk, like going up.
I remember.
Over the time, the layers would like kind of settle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels like that there's different levels of consciousness or different levels of, I don't want to use the word energy, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
density.
Yeah, like,
it's more like,
I do still feel that there's like energetic currents and bandwidths going around in my body and around my space. Like, I do still feel very like switched on to that sort of thing. And again, I've witnessed that on DMT. So again, like, you can't tell me that energy is rubbish because like I feel it. So anyway, side point. So yeah, the bottle with all the liquid, that's, you know, one layer could be your dreams, one layer could be like the collective unconscious where all the ideas live. One area could be like the LSD realm. One could be the ketamine realm, right, which is a completely different thing somewhere else. So you've got these kind of layers. I suppose you could also think about it as like different layers of the atmosphere going out into space or something. So psychedelics kind of take you up into those various liquids. And there's kind of currents and there's riptides and there's different densities, and you don't know what you're going to get. It's like everything that everyone's ever said, done or thought is in that space. Like, it's a big soup of just everyone's dreams, everyone's thoughts, like all just in this mess. But then God is like pushing a straw all the way through the layers. And like, imagine like you're right at the bottom of the bottle. And it's like you've just got this like snorkel or this like pipe, this oxygen pipe that just comes all the way down to the bottom. And you just like cut through all the layers, like almost like an elevator going up a building or something. You just cut through the crap essentially. And like, I love how you're saying like you feel like God kind of used psychedelics as a tool to get you to him. But like, I mean, I feel maybe the same actually. I relate with that, but a lot of people get stuck in that sticky liquidy goop, and they get stuck in the ego trap of it all, in the spirit. Like, there was a Buddhist monk that wrote a book called Spiritual Materialism. Like, it's a known problem, like, you know, and no one seems to be trying to solve the problem, which is interesting. They're all going to Bali and running yoga retreats and whatever. But no shame.
They absolutely are. You're right. Well, I feel like that culture doesn't really want the answer. Really, they're happy in the goop. Like it's actually that's enough for them. And I think a lot of them are quite ignorant to the idea as well. We actually have an enemy out there in that goop who's trapped there, who does not have your best interest at heart, who are pretending to be your friends, your best friends, who just want to teach you stuff, you know, and help get you to that fifth dimension. And it's kind of we just need to want to bring your consciousness up to our level, man. You know, they have these lies that tell, and these are the people that believe they're like Arcturian aliens living in the physical dimension or something, you know. But the only things communicating to you in that realm are the Nephilim, disembodied spirits. Biblically speaking, historically speaking, we know what's there and why they're there right now, and that's why there's going to be a new heaven and earth to kind of cleanse this parasitical nightmare from the earth. Because I think that all these realms you've discussed, these layers, are the earth. It's all one place. They're not separate from us. They're not and they're all completely necessary. Like one's the wiring, one's the coding, one's the coolant system, it's just the plumbing behind the thing that makes this thing happen that we exist in. And it's kind of, I feel like a lot of that culture believes where we live in a body is bad.
Right.
We're stuck in a high density, low vibrational frequency. We're trapped here, you know, and we need to ascend out of it through our own means of enlightened consciousness. And it's kind of what you're doing. You're spitting in the face of God's creation. He made that body for you lovingly and fearfully, and he has breathed life into it out of clay in his image to live a life here that otherwise cannot be done without him. You know,
great,
and and I think that's as soon as they get that perspective shift, the psychedelic community can very quickly be happy, lose that anxiety, that fear that's deep within all of them. I know the fear. I've been there. They're looking for God, but they're not willing to let God fill that hole in them. Like they want anything else but God. But that's what they're looking for. That's what they're desperately after. They're scared. That's why they're swimming in the goop. They're scared. They want answers. They want to be grounded. They want to know, why am I here? What's going on? Why any of this? And it's until they humble themselves and say, I'm not God. Maybe there is a God outside of me, and they start looking for it. They're never really going to get there, but they will. I think they will. I think God did it to me. He did it to you. He'll get you there, and he'll use you wherever you're at. For us, it was we were in that culture of drugs. Other people are not there. They're doing something else. And he's going to use them wherever they are in whatever sin they're deviling, like rolling around in and getting themselves filthy with. He'll use that to get them to him eventually. That's how it works, you know. And anyway, go ahead.
So lots of points. But no, the main one was about, they have to humble themselves to get to God. And that... when I discovered like the power of repentance, like, wow, like that unlocked a door majorly. But the problem is with psychedelics is the whole spiritual, the psychedelic narcissism thing, where over time they will make you feel like God's gift. They, you know, be careful of unearned wisdom. Who was it who said that? Carl Jung.
Carl Jung is the one who came up with that phrase. I think Jordan Peterson popularized it not that long ago. But and also actually Alan Watts did say it. You know, the Eastern.
He said, when you've got the message, hang up the phone.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I think he kind of did the exact... That was his opinion on psychedelics. I think he was it's off that riff, like I said. Beware of unearned wisdom.
The trick, the trickster element of psychedelics is that they are moving you away from humility and moving you towards this narcissism, this grandiosity, this pride, this overreaching. And going back to your point about the New Age people don't believe in demons. They don't believe in spiritual warfare. They think it's all rainbows and unicorns and everything's amazing. So, and it makes me think of that phrase. I don't know who said it, but the biggest trick of the enemy was making people think that he didn't exist. And so, you know, these people are going into hyperspace, into the psychedelic realms, all bushy-tailed, thinking that it's just amazing and that they're going to meet God. But actually... they are exposing themselves to demons and just nefarious warfare, whilst also bigging up their own ego. So it's like it's doing the reverse. Like in the short term, you feel like you are making progress and healing, but over time, like you just find yourself back at square one, feeling ashamed that you're not this enlightened starseed, whatever, feeling more confused and less tethered to reality, and just feeling like, you know, you've wasted several hundreds of pounds over however many years. And it just doesn't get you there. Like, it just doesn't get you there.
Well, I found the longer I was in it for, the more depressed I was actually getting.
Right.
And the more my life was falling apart. And it's kind of like and then you keep deluding yourself, thinking, well, I'm an enlightened super wizard who sees through the reality of the universe, and these idiots around me just don't get it, man. It's kind of your ego doubles down as you objectively get more disheveled and thinner and weaker looking, and kind of the demons are doing the job on you, you know, they're killing you slowly and fooling you into thinking that you're a god, you know. And it got to that point of utter, like, lowest point moment where I had to ask God, I don't know what's going on, help me. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble, you know. And then, like I said, that's when I got that experience you had, that Holy Spirit overtaking me, the baptism of the Holy Spirit through water. Funnily enough, you know, I had a bath, and that's what did it for me.
Oh, really?
He used it in that moment because I immediately had a bath after asking for help, you know, sincerely in that humble moment, and you're shot up with that feeling you're talking about. And it's kind of nothing was ever the same after, and I couldn't do what I used to do anymore. I just couldn't. I was convicted finally, you know, and it's kind of, I became a new creation. I was born again, and it's a real, tangible, physical, mystical, magical, wonderful experience that you can't convey to people, but it's real. It really does happen, you know. And like I said, my walk with God since March 15th, 2014, I think it was, has never been the same ever since. You know, I've been growing with him. And it wasn't an overnight miraculous, I'm now completely free of all my problems. It was a slow process of dropping each thing that was no longer profitable. Everything was lawful. The conviction was gone, you know, but is it profitable? Is it worth doing? You know, and it's kind of, I feel like the change is apparent, like I said, through you see who I used to be with who I am now, you know it's real. You know,
it's crazy different.
And I think your testimony sounds so similar to mine. Yeah. And I'm trying to reach the people who you know, who are still in that world. But like I said, they're an insufferable bunch who are really, really hard headed. Like that's what I found. And best of luck to you if you're going to try and reach them too. I think your testimony is powerful.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know what that looks like yet. But I used to, we'll see. God is in control on that one. I don't know, but
we'll see.
Yeah, I think the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? You know, essentially, like it's being the change. You know.
Well, amen. Well, God bless you, sister. Well done on getting baptized today. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I wish you all the best in your walk with God, and
you too.
You know, like I said, you've just begun. It's buckle up. It's a wild ride.
Yeah.
And stay in touch.
Yeah, nice one. We'll do. Take it easy,
all right,
man.
Freya. Bye now.
Bye.
Well, wasn't that lovely? Nice story. I enjoyed that. That's some good news. Something positive. And yeah, the community she came from is similar to the community I came from as well. The rave scene, the rave culture, the drug culture, the psychedelic stuff. I can relate heavily to everything she said. And I know many of my own listeners can relate to that story too. And if you're still umming and ahhing about whether anything I'm saying is valid at all, or I'm just some schizoid weirdo freak on YouTube, some Christian bigot who's just won't shut his mouth. I hope the testimonies like that can help you see, like, no, we're not crazy. We were you. We've done everything you've done too. We know what you're thinking and feeling, and I would say just stick around for longer. Hear us out and read the word, man. Open up with Ecclesiastes like I did. That'll put it into perspective for you. But yeah. I like that a lot. So I do have one more guest lined up. I am running out of time because like I said, I have to talk with someone after this. I did promise that I would answer an email question as well. Again, time permitting, I'll spend 5 minutes on that first while I'm waiting for the next guest to come in. So I'm just going to quickly get the meeting set up for them. I'm just going to get the invite link there, and I'll send them the link so they can hop on. And while I'm waiting for that to go on, I'll just answer this email question as well. So where am I? I've lost all my emails. Typical. Let me just find this. It says he's doing webcam. Is there a way a phone call could work? I'll reply with this link. So Jalen, if you're listening, the link I'm sending you, you don't need a camera. You can do it through your phone as long as you have an internet connection. So follow this link and it should take you to where it needs to go. And then I'll admit you into the room once I see that you're there, and we'll get the conversation going when ready. If you can't make it today, don't worry about it. Maybe we'll do it for the next show instead, and we'll organize it and get a bit more prep going as well. So I've sent you the link there, Jalen. But yeah, somebody did send me an email that I did promise I would respond to, because I do better speaking than typing, so that's why. And it's from Victoria. And she originally sent me a message. And again, no, I'm not going to dwell on this too long because I'm not the guy for this. Okay. But I feel compelled to answer a question because she does seem like she does need some help. And this is a truth of therapy session after all. So she's saying, she's currently watching one of my old videos titled Little C's in Theory 1. And I think I was talking with Bo from the Bump podcast on that one, kind of laying out the theories I used to do quite a lot back in the day, just kind of repeating myself, kind of laying out what the idea is. And it sounds like this is the first time she'd ever really heard the idea and it got to her. And I feel compelled to kind of help here a little bit. So she says she has some questions, and all the usual questions. Why has he not made himself visible on Earth? Or why is he allowed evil? Why is he hiding? All these type of questions, Let me know some of your thoughts. Pray for me, all this type of stuff. And then I didn't have a chance to answer back, to be honest, because I just got caught up with lots of things. And by the way, I'm just going to very quickly... The camera's going to go off for a second, okay? Because it's going to die on me if I don't do this. So just bear with me. I'm going to connect that again. Go back to webcam. Right. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I'm back. Yeah, it wasn't charging, so I had to unplug and plug it back in again. Sorry, it was about to go dead. There we go. We're back. Technical difficulty. There's always something. So she sent me this other email to kind of follow up. And she says, I have another question. I'm so afraid. I feel so doomed and hopeless concerning Revelation 20. Since this is a biblical prophecy, am I correct in thinking that we will be so deceived that we will participate in the attack against the Holy Camp? Were we always doomed and damned that we cannot be saved and our fate is to be killed by God and burned up during this battle? Please help me and let me know. I have so much anxiety and fear. I don't want to be separated forever from God. I want to do right and live a holy and acceptable life from here on out. And these type of emails that reminded me that my words have huge impacts on people, and we need to be careful about everything we say. And maybe in the past, when I did make those videos, perhaps I was a little bit not really thinking about the shocking fear factor that can come with realizing that you may have believed a false narrative your entire life. And I guess I never saw it because I'm one of those backdoor Christians, as I call them. I came at it not from growing up a Christian. I don't know the rules of engagement or the language I should use, or I don't necessarily quite understand the preconceived, ingrained ideas legacy Christians, shall we call them, have. And I imagine it would be scary to think that your blessed hope has been taken away. I heard that phrase a lot, like, this steals our blessed hope. And I kind of got the gist that the blessed hope they had was that they thought they would get to rule with Christ as kings and priests for 1,000 years and would take part in that first resurrection and be the saints, and have the mansions given to them, all these type of things. And without that, what are we? What am I even doing following Christ if I'm not going to get to be resurrected or raptured and get to be a part of that millennial reign? And it always confused me personally. It did, because I didn't. So what do you mean? Why is the millennial reign the thing you're looking forward to or have your hope in? And it came with this other thing. Like, a lot of the churches don't tell them that there's something after the millennial reign. They think it's like an eternal thing. It's like amillennialism. It just goes on forever and ever and ever. And we're living in the millennial reign now, perhaps. Or if you're a pre-trib, post-trib, it's kind of like, well, you might die or you'll be taken up and then you'll be put back on the earth and you get to live forever with Jesus and everything's perfect, And they never talk about Revelation 20. They never mention to them that there's this time where that ends, it's over. And the true coming down of heaven and earth meeting happens after the great white throne judgment, And I think because they don't know about that, it's such a shock to the system. You get this fear and anxiety kicking in because they think for some reason their salvation is in jeopardy now. And what I have to say is, Victoria, your salvation is not in jeopardy wherever you are on the timeline, as long as you have your faith and belief in Jesus Christ and his work on the cross is complete and that he rose from the dead, that he is the Son of God and our salvation is in him. You're saved. It doesn't matter when you are or where you are. Now, look, these promises coming from the new dispensationalist type preachers in the modern churches today, and the Zionist types, that, you know, if you hold steadfast to the end, you're going to get to be taken away and you won't have to deal with all the pain and suffering that's coming on the earth. Like, that is such a fear-based, ridiculous basis and foundation for having a Christian faith to begin with, that I can't even fathom or understand why people even have that. I don't get it. I never did get it. And it upsets me, you know, that. And so when I came up with this, well, stumbled upon, shall I say, the truth that we're probably in this time zone and started talking about it, I was naive, not really realizing like that people would lose their faith, but they're not really losing their faith. They're becoming disillusioned with the lies they were told, and they call it losing their faith in some way. And I was saying, look, if you sincerely love Jesus, you're saved. You're fine. And look, we were never promised that we wouldn't die. Okay, Jesus died and he said, pick up your cross and follow me in my way. And it's only through going through the process like Jesus did can we be resurrected. You don't get resurrected unless you die first. Okay, so you're not promised to live forever. You're not promised that physically you would body would go on forever. There's a point where you must die, face judgment, and then resurrection afterwards into the new heaven and earth. And your blessed hope should not be in what comes after the tribulation. Your blessed hope should be in the final great white throne judgment, having your name in that Lamb's book of life, so you can be rest assured, guilt-free, anxiety-free, knowing I am secure, and my place, my ticket to new heaven and earth is there. It's waiting for me, you know, and I am forgiven of my sins. I am washed clean. All things are lawful. Yeah, of course, not all things are profitable, so don't go around sinning. It's just not going to work out for you very well, you know, but rest assured your salvation is safe wherever you are on the timeline, and have your blessed hope in what's to come at the end of all of this, a renewal of the earth, you know, a destruction of the old, yes, but a real connection where heaven and earth are one, and we have a holy communion with God, and the angels singing holy, holy, holy for eternity. He's there walking with us as it was in Eden once more. We are restored back to where we should have been to begin with before the fall. Everything is renewed. The millennial reign of Christ is not that. It's a time where Christ rules with an iron rod in a physical sense and subjugates his enemies, and you know, gives those who suffered for him in that time of tribulation the just rewards for going through that worst time in history, that they get to relax for 1,000 years basically and put their feet up and enjoy what they've earned. Yes, we were born in a tumultuous time where perhaps we didn't get to experience such pleasures of the flesh, but at the same time, we're wholly blessed that we get to experience this time before the end, where the new heaven and earth is right around the corner. And I don't know when that's going to be. Who Nobody knows. We're not even promised tomorrow. So don't dwell on such things. Don't live in fear of whether tomorrow is going to be the end or whatever. Just live now. Love your family. Love your children. You know, kiss your husband. Kiss your wife. Sleep soundly, dream dreams, build a future, make a garden, plant some flowers, plant a tree for the future, and live with the hope that you have tomorrow. Because you just don't know, and you can't live your life in such fear and anxiety over these things. And you shouldn't be. Christ did not come and sacrifice himself for us so we would live in fear and anxiety. That's not what he's called for you to do. Be at peace, Victoria. He's won. Wherever you are on the timeline, he has risen. He has won. He has conquered death. And so long as we are under him, covered in his blood, you know, we are seen as pure in the eyes of God. We're safe no matter what's to come. And that's your blessed hope. That's your assurance. That's all I can say. That's all I can say to that, you know, and I apologize for any part I may have played in making you feel that way, because that's not what I intended at all. And this is why I'm taking a step down from being in such a spotlight, saying such things, because maybe I had no right to say those things to begin with. Maybe I'm not the person who should be saying that. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a preacher, you know. I'm just a YouTuber, and people shouldn't be taking gospel value the words of some guy with an office and a laptop in his house, you know. And it's kind of, I don't think God's called me to be making people feel in such a way. I don't feel like that's my role. You know, I'm the guy that's supposed to try and make the truthers out there feel a bit better. That's what these therapy sessions are for in my eyes. And I'm hoping what I said there in some way has brought you some peace. But I would say pray, talk to Jesus, you know, talk to the Father through him, and know everything's okay. So there we go. That's all I can really say to that. Yeah. So hopefully the guest managed to make it through Zoom. Let's see. It looks like he didn't quite figure it out. Unfortunately, Jalen, we will stay in touch. We will get you on. I'm going to do this again next week, another open call. So if anyone's listening and you want to be a caller to talk about whatever you want to talk about, I will curate it though. I'm not going to just let anybody on. Like, give me a pitch. What do you want to talk about? And many people did message me who didn't make the cuts because I don't want to talk about how the God of the Old Testament is actually Satan, and I don't, because I think that's absolute nonsense. And I don't believe you. I think you're wrong. I think you're severely wrong. And no, I don't want to talk about the little season anymore. Like, I'm not interested in doing that. Like, yes, I have my videos out there. Go and watch them because that's pretty much done and dusted. But I'm not the guy for that. So don't start messaging me coming on to do a full spiel about it. Yeah, so but if you want to talk about spiritual warfare, current events, what you think's going on right now, if you have experiences with anything in particular, or maybe like some kind of waking up to the truth type of story you want to tell, or you're having problems with your loved ones and family, a real, tips for truth, a situation, you need some advice, get in touch, let's get on, let's have a talk, because people listening also need to hear these things because they're probably going through the exact same problems as well. And that's what this is really all about, guys. That's what this podcast is specifically for. So if you think you have a story or something you want to ask or something you want to say relating to the things I just mentioned, call in. We'll have a conversation just like this, just like you've seen me do with these other two guests today. I can't stick around, guys, and wait for this other caller because I have an appointment in 6 minutes with a guest going for the Understanding Creativity channel. Bit of a high-profile guest. I can't really keep them waiting. It just wouldn't be professional. So I do have to get going in 5 minutes for that reason. But I want to say thanks for everyone who's listening today. I really appreciate you being here, as always. Thanks to the moderators, Wendy, and obviously my wife, and anybody else who I've missed who's been in there for keeping the chats, tight as always and productive as always. I really appreciate it. I appreciate everything you do. And Wendy's Truth or Therapy session mug turned up today. She sent me a photo of her sipping out of it. MK Ryan needs to catch up and get his. I don't know what he's doing. He said he would get a hat because it probably would work better for his receding hairline, which is fair. I understand, man. It's just something about being a father of a few children and getting into your 30s. This widow's peak just gets a bit stronger, doesn't it? I get it. But yeah, get yourself some merch if you haven't already. We're back in Shilltown. There we go. But yeah, no, thanks for being here, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around. And for those who have been with me since the beginning, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers, and that's amazing. And we need to do something good with this. We can't waste this opportunity. And if we can get the word to more people, we can get more people out of the corruption of the world. We can get people out of that psychedelic community. We can teach people the values of spiritual warfare and get them to Christ and give them the weapons they need to protect themselves. Then I think we're doing a job well done here. And that's the aim, and that's always been the aim at the end of the day. And I hope we're doing that. Thanks to Thomas and Freya for talking today. Thomas, we'll have to get you back on to talk more about Basler Fastnack and the whatever's really going on in Switzerland. If we can get dark and creepy about it, let's get dark and creepy. I'm all for it, We'll definitely do that. But with that being said, guys, I'm going to leave the show there. I'll play out another Judas Sargent song just for fun. Get yourself a copy of The Nephilim Look Like Clowns on Amazon if you haven't already. If you want a signed copy with a free audiobook, that's the offer right now. Email me at understandingconspiracy@gmail.com and we can get that arranged. So a free audiobook with every signed copy you purchase from me directly is the current offer, but you must live in the UK or the US because I don't have codes for outside of those jurisdictions. So as long as you're a US citizen or a UK citizen, I can make that offer valid. Email me. I have a new batch of 10 books, 7 hard copies, 3 paperbacks turning up in about a week. You can get your copy ready so when it comes in, I can get it sent straight out. If you're interested, email me, understandingconspiracy@gmail.com, and you can use that email to contact me about anything at all you want to talk about. Anything at all. If you want to be a guest in the next call-in, that's where you'd reach me to. Make sure to check out the other channel, guys, Understanding Creativity. Lots of good stuff on there, stuff you haven't seen on this channel, and a lot more coming in the future as well. So we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening, and as always, God bless.
because no matter from what cloth I was cut, may my heart be as a patchwork quilt. Ooh. To you. Whether it be a burgundy woven into the covering of the color that embodies a son's blood for the lost, bring me down to the lowest color of the lower grade to show the highest, the most beautiful. What patch most? More. Like the quill Mama had me covered, I slept soundly under. Father, here am I undeserved. If you will choose any of these colors, oh, like the quill Mama had me covered, I will live however you want me to. Thread it through of Savior's blood spilled, because no matter from what cloth I was cut,